Yes.
Do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
I can. I'm just waiting for myself. I need to let myself in. And I can't find myself. So hold on, my friend. Hold on. I have to like, there I am. Okay, I'm trying to let myself in. Okay, CG is coming in. That's me. And I'm making myself the co-host on my other computer. But yes, I can share my screen. One momento.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of noise here. It's an excavator.
Awesome.
Exactly. Pretty awesome is definitely the word for the day.
All right. I'll go ahead and admit everyone.
Yeah, and they should be able to. There we go. All right. I'm on mute, by the way. All right, friends, we are going to get started. Apologize, you are going to hear and see some things you don't want to hear. For example, I have an excavator in my backyard, actually my front yard. So they are digging out, well, actually yesterday we replaced the sewer line in our house. So they had to bring an excavator in to do all that digging. So you're going to hear that noise. I apologize. Then you might hear the plumber asking me questions. So I'm going to do my best to not inundate you with those horrible things and those terrible experiences. But at this moment in time, it's my, unfortunately, it is my best option. But give me a thumbs up if you can all hear me. I know that I don't look the most amazing today. Usually I shower and dress my hair up and wear hair gel and stuff and don't wear a hat. So I'm gonna turn a light on real fast. This would be like the most non-conventional webinar I've done in a long time, so I apologize for that. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to I'll have to just deal with that as well. But thumbs up, everybody can hear me, right? I'm hoping that you're all good to go. I'm giving myself is also the co-host, so if you see somebody else responding, it's because I have two different laptops going on at the same time. And so with that being said, I'm actually going to close this window out, and I'm going to allow myself to do the chat on that side, and we'll be full screening. So I think we're good to go. Carrie, you ready to go, my friend?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. I'm excited because, you know, it's what it is. Do you want to record or do you want me to record?
I'm already recording.
That's
I'll
awesome.
trim our beginning.
All right. Maybe because, you know, who wants to hear about a sewer line? So with that being said, I do want to welcome you to our session, Canvas or Seesaw, and what's the best fit for your school, best fit for your situation, meaning you know your students. Now, we're going to get into some really awesome things, and we only have 45 minutes, but I do want to know, I want to make one statement pretty clear. Carrie and I are not here to tell you which one to choose. We're here to support you, right, Carrie? That's pretty much, we're just supporting you regardless of what you choose. However, with that choice being the word, I would advise that you work with your team and work with your principal, because I've heard in some schools, a whole team has to decide, and in some schools, the school has to decide. So please just work with your school administrator. I know that Carrie and I are here to support you. We love you regardless of whether you choose to use Seesaw or Canvas, because this by no means is a Seesaw or Canvas showdown. This is just, you know, you've been given two options. So, you know, do you choose the Ford or the Chevy? And that's kind of, you know, or the Lamborghini or the Ferrari kind of thing. So, which choice? So anyways, with that being said, if you don't know who I am, my name is Chris Giles. I work for Beaverton. I just finished my 4th year, going to my 5th year. My role specifically is basically administrating, taking care of Canvas, but I work with Carrie. We used to be part of the Future Ready team, and we're in the strats. We would both go into the classrooms and support classrooms, teachers. And so the bigger picture is, yes, Canvas for me, but the bigger picture is really supporting online opportunities for learning, technology integration, all of those things. So, and I've been a classroom teacher for 17 years. I've been in education since 1997. So I'm older than probably most of you here today. So I don't know, Carrie, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, you're not older than me, so there's that. So
Oh, darn.
I've been in Beaverton, neither Alicia too, so take
Oh,
that.
okay.
I've been in Beaverton for 20 plus years, elementary teacher for the great bulk of that, and now I have been kind of reined in from a previous TOSA job to help with online learning and comprehensive distance learning, and knowing the technology pieces and integration to support you this year. So
yeah, and I love it. Carrie, I worked with Carrie, I think this is 2 years, right? We worked together for 2 years. This is our 3rd year?
I think longer.
I think longer. Yeah, anyways, I love Carrie. She's awesome. She's way more organized than I am, which helps me focus on being organized. So I love that. So with that being said, we kind of, you know, our team does the best to basically emulate our skeleton or our framework of 5. And by no means are these the 5 that are the most comprehensive. But at this moment in time, there's really not a manual for comprehensive distance learning. So this is our best approach to come up with a framework of how you're going to implement and support comprehensive distance learning. And so you've heard the same terms: connect, engage, teach, check, and respond. And Canvas and Seesaw allows you to do both of those. And then we do our best to look through this equity lens. And Carrie, I don't know if you want to say something specific, you can. Other than that, that's really what we want to emulate this. So, you know, if you guys have questions or concerns, please let us know about that. All right, with that being said, we've gotten a lot of emails, and so that's why you're going to see the email picture. And so the questions are like, hey, which should our school choose, Canvas or Seesaw for comprehensive distance learning? And that's basically the theme today. And so again, like we had mentioned earlier, this is not a Canvas versus Seesaw. This is not a showdown. This is to say that both tools are used successfully, but sometimes some schools or grade levels are getting that choice. And so we want to help you make that choice. And Carrie, you, by all means, my friend, you need to say anything, just jump in. I don't want to be the one talking.
No, happy to. We
Okay.
just started with some email questions that we've received, but this is more of an opportunity for you to ask questions of us. Like, does it do this feature? Does it do what I want it to do? How can I get it to? We don't really have a bunch that we're just going to throw at you, but we are happy to answer your questions. We'll start off with our few questions, but be thinking, throw them in the chat or write them down or whatever. And we want to make sure that you're making an informed decision. I always hate that when you're you're forced into picking something when you maybe really don't understand what each of the tools can do for you. Our assumption is that you probably know more about Seesaw, assuming that you used that tool. But I know there's a number of friends who used Google Classroom exclusively. So we want to answer questions about both platforms to help you.
Yep. So that being said, you know, is Canvas friendly enough or inviting? And what stuff can I add to it? Oops, was that my first slide? Oh, this is
another.
Yeah, this one. So I really do want to kind of stress a couple things. You know, in my position where I'm at, what I get to do is I get to work alongside my really good friend Brian in IT, and the two of us develop and implement Canvas as far as what you as teachers will see. And so this example you see right now is a really good friend of both Carrie and I. Her name is Kat, and she's a teacher at Shoals Heights. And so last year, and the year before, she had only received one Canvas course. It was her homeroom. It was called Grade 5. This year, we're changing that process, and we're going to have each teacher have a homeroom course and a Canvas course for the core. And the core are the science/health, the social studies. I think we're going to call it English writing, English/writing, and then math. And so those are the core 4, and then we have room as 5. And so what I want you to understand is the framework, just real briefly. That means that you get 5 Canvas courses, but you can choose to just use your homeroom. You do not have to go, oh my gosh, I have 5. You can start with 1, the homeroom course, and use that to actually teach everything, or at least use that to teach for a little while until you feel comfortable branching out to those other core classes. And the reasoning behind that is giving teachers 5 courses allows a lot more flexibility. Our goal, I've been saying it for quite a long time now, we don't necessarily have a perfect solution for what we're dealing with, but we're trying to give you the most sustainable a solution. And so I feel like flexibility, giving you the opportunity to have 5 courses where you can choose all of them or just the one is good as a good starting point.
So Chris, if you are a standard elementary classroom teacher, your courses and your students will be auto-populated for you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, your students will be automatically entered into all your Canvas courses. There's no management on your end. You do not have to deal with that. And matter of fact, all of your parents will automatically be added to your course as observers, which means you won't have to manage which parents can see what they can see. I take care of all of that for you. But that is to say that a parent has a Canvas course. They just may not have completed the final step of actually activating that Canvas course. But no management, no rostering. That is all on us. You do not have to do that.
What if you are not a standard classroom teacher, regular gen ed teacher? You are a specialist, or you teach special ed, or you other positions.
And that, I think the question is, you know, what do I do if I'm a special ed teacher? Actually, I apologize. What do I do if I'm a special ed teacher or a counselor or some other role that supports teach or students but does not have a synergy rostered course? Much like Seesaw would be the same thing. And so there are a few options. One, you can be added to a Canvas course. If you were supporting a student and they're specifically support for math, you could be added to that math course. But I'm also going to be working with, well, I also have a role set up specifically for our counselors and our administrators to give them a chance to be able to find students that they support and see how they're doing at Canvas. And that comes with training, so that'll be something that we work on. But individuals like administrators, counselors, and special ed who also support students will have an opportunity for more training to know how to do those features.
We do have one question in the chat that's about confidentiality.
Yes.
So if it's a special ed specific question, but can you keep student work private in Canvas? Yeah,
when a student submits an assignment to you as a teacher, it's literally just like your paper inbox in your classroom that you had, and it submits to you, and you're the only one who can receive that inbox paperwork and then give it back to that student specifically. There is space for like discussions where everybody can kind of socially learn, but yes, a student can submit to you. No one else sees that information. The only person who does beyond the student is a parent, and that's set up by Ed Rights. We set up that through Parent View, so we don't manage that. Whatever Parent View says is the rights that the parents have. So, yeah, and by all means, like Carrie and I said, we have some questions we're going to go through, but please feel comfortable asking questions. We'll do our best. I have 2 computers going so that I can, like Carrie, we can respond to questions as well. So.
We have another question in the chat. If you choose to only do the homeroom, that's the way you want to start off with Canvas, how can you organize things into different subjects?
So what you can do if you only have one Canvas course is you can still organize by what's called a module. And think of a module just like a file folder. When you would teach in the old school classrooms like me, you pull out your file folder, and this was a file folder for all of the writing, and this was a file folder for the math. So in Canvas, you can use what's called modules to organize so that students can look at it. You can also organize by a day or by a week. So if you wanted a module of learning to be one day, Monday, then inside that module, and I can show you what it looks like, you can say, here's what we're learning on Monday, and you can put some elements of learning or some tasks in one module for learning if you want to. So there are some ways to do it. The reasoning behind giving you 5, and my friend Kat will probably, if she were here, she would say this, to organize content across those 4 core subject areas after a potential few months, it might be the point where you feel like, ooh, that's kind of challenging. So that's why I'm giving the flexibility. And I can also help you set up your gradebook, because in the gradebook, you can filter by content. So if you're using your homeroom and you want to collect evidence of students learning for math and science and social studies, you can filter your gradebook to look at the evidence to that subject area. But anyways, yeah, so hopefully it's a decent response.
We did have a question, whether or not we already have Canvas courses set up, and if teachers could just go, yes. I do best when I literally get in there and just play around, and I try adding things on my own. So is that something that we already have set up?
Yeah, and I'm going to just hit escape really fast, and you can still see my screen. And so if I'm a classroom teacher and I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I go? You can go to staff bookmarks, and you can log into staff bookmarks. And when you log into the staff bookmarks, you'll see the Canvas icon show up. I'm hoping I'm already logged in so I don't have to do this. And so you'll see the Canvas icon in just a second, it'll pop up. I just got a brand new router, so it's supposed to be much faster here, but we'll see what happens. Oh, it's loading. How naturally slow that is. Anyways, you can log in by going to the teacher bookmarks. Right here is Canvas. I can click on Canvas. When you click on Canvas, you'll come to the dashboard, and this big gigantic screen you see in front of you are all the courses that I as a teacher am either teaching or as a student I am taking. And so for all of you will have a course called a sandbox, and I'm going to just find it for you. You don't have to stress about finding it. You will not have nearly as many courses as I have, but all of you, every single teacher in the entire school district will have a course called Sandbox. And so it'll say your name on it, and this sandbox has no students involved. You can leave it unpublished. It doesn't really matter. And then if you want to go look around it and go, hey, Chris told me about modules, or he's given me a few places where I can go, then if you want to play around, you can. For the rest of you, you actually technically can click on your dashboard and you'll see the past student courses that were given to you, but you may never have used. So they're all kind of what's called read-only. You can't really do anything else in those courses, but they do exist. So for some of you who, we left school in March. And so you'll actually see your students that you had in 2019, they're in a Canvas course called Mr. and Mrs. Your grade level class. Hopefully, Kara, that's a very good response.
Yeah, no, that was wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, and we're not going to get into like the nitty-gritty of how to use Canvas. That's tomorrow. I'll go into more of that, but that's a great question. Can we do something? So yeah, it's just yes. Oops, there we go. Another question, how does communication look between the teachers, students, and parents? And so in Canvas, you can send a message to specific students through Canvas. You can send a message to parents, but I'm going to let you know, in my opinion, your goal at the beginning of the year is to use every single communication tool known to yourself. And eventually, if you are going to choose Canvas, you're eventually going to want to narrow your communication tools down to 3, which is Zoom, email, and Canvas. Email won't go away. It's still a valuable tool to use, and that might be more of a parent thing. But your goal is to narrow down all the tools you use, phone calls, text messages, all the things you did to those 3 tools. And eventually you might be able to narrow down to just Canvas and Zoom, but Zoom won't go away. It's going to be definitely a primary communication tool. So that being said, you can send messages to students through Canvas. They can send them to you. You can send them to parents. In the Canvas gradebook, if you were to collect student work and you want to quickly send a message to all students who did not turn in, or students who scored less than a certain score that you wanted them to score on, you could send messages. And then finally, students, yeah, that's communication. So communication works out really well. And again, it can be individualized or to the whole course students.
And for those of you who used Seesaw last spring, you'll know that you can communicate to the entire class via messages and announcements. You can also communicate with parents, but there is not a super slick way to communicate directly with one student. Teachers have found workarounds through that, where they could post a note and tag that student, put it directly into a folder, perhaps, that students and teachers only accessed. But as of right now, there is not a way just to directly message students. It has to be attached to a piece of work. You can give feedback on a specific piece of work, but not just, hey, how are you doing, kind of message.
And I think it's okay to know that, because I think as a perhaps kindergarten through 3rd grade, or even kindergarten through 5th grade, your mode of communication with your students could be through email and Zoom, and that is totally fine with your parents. So there's nothing. So again, like, you know, Karen and I we're not in a fight, we're not divorcing, you know, but it is important to know what you can do. But it's also important to understand that not being able to communicate directly in Seesaw is okay, because I still have 2 other tools that I'm going to be using quite a bit. And so that's totally fine. So, and I'm going to go through my questions, and then Carrie's going to, you know, we can both, and by all means, please, Carrie, interrupt me if we have questions that we want to respond to as well, by all means. Somebody did mention that they're doing Growing with Canvas 1 and 2, but can't seem to add their friends. It's because it's my fault. Apologize. I actually need to renew the Teacher Source course to be current. So my goal will be to try to do that tonight. And then that means that people will be able to register on Teacher Source as an anytime course for Growing Canvas 1 and 2. It's a 2-part course. It's actually 1, but I split it into 2. And it's just an awareness. It's something you can go through and you can kind of speed through on your own if you want to, but I will fix that. And somebody did ask about TNL being created in Seesaw, and how can we take Seesaw, how can you take Seesaw work and tasks and use it for Canvas, and does it transfer? Is that okay if we answer that question, Carrie?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a couple things. One, if it's TOSAs who are working on content like math, I talked to Gus the other day, or Carrie's working on, I think, is it reading content?
Writing
content. And so the platform they're both using, Carrie, I believe, is Google Docs or Google Slides, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And
so
also,
that being, but also what?
Also building Seesaw activities.
Yeah, so there you go. So, and Carrie's doing some specifically in Canvas, or I mean Seesaw. Well, the good thing about Google is you can integrate a Google document or a Google slide in Canvas pretty nicely, where students can see the information, will be able to look at a Google slide in Canvas. They can still go to Google, but you can always give them a link in Canvas. That way they don't have to go and search for it. So much like Seesaw, where you can give students a direct link and they can look at information in a Google slide or in a document. And so that's a great thing for what our TOSAs are doing. And for those of you who are like Google Classroom lovers, you know, you're going to be able to use anything you created in Google that was really important to you, you could still use in Canvas. You know, think of it like perhaps a little bit like driving in the UK versus driving in the US. It's still a car. You just might have to drive on the other side of the road. So you're going to have to learn a few different nuances in how to actually implement that. But 100% confident that you will be able to use your content if it comes from our TOSAs, if it's in Google. We'll find some really good beneficial ways for that.
And I can speak directly to writing. For grades 4 and 5, our game plan is to go ahead and build that first unit, the first Teachers College unit, right into Canvas. So you can jump into that unit with confidence that it's already been created for you, and you can learn right along with your students and see how we've structured a number of the activities there for you.
So I do want to respond to Lori's question, and it's a great question. Lori says, you know, do we have to pick one or the other, and could we just use primarily use Canvas? I'm sorry, use say Canvas and post links, post Seesaw links in there. So I think I want to make sure I understand Lori, because we talked the other day. Could you potentially use both? And I feel like you can, with a caveat, because that's my word for the week. I would still use Canvas as my main learning platform. It's the space where my students are going to go to engage in learning. It's the place where my parents will understand where my communication comes from and to see feedback. But as a teacher, if I wanted my students to do, let's say, a quick write in Seesaw, I could have them open up the whiteboard, do a quick write in Seesaw, take a screenshot of it and submit it to Canvas, or do a video in Seesaw and download it and submit it to Canvas. So I think in this way, if you want to use Seesaw just like you might use a toolkit, hey, I want you to go ahead and complete this task. You can use Seesaw to do it, and you're submitting to Canvas. I think that's fine. I think if you're going to have students submit to Seesaw in Canvas, you're going to run into potential problems because now you're back to, why did you make the choice between Canvas and Seesaw anyways? So you're thinking about your workflow. If you're going to use both, I would just consider Seesaw another great tool kit, much like, in my opinion, Adobe Spark or something else where my students could create, build, and do something, but they're still going to submit to Canvas because it's the one platform I want all of my communication and feedback to come from. So Lori, by all means, please, if that's not the answer you want, or I answered it incorrectly or thought your question was wrong, let me know, but that's my brain. So Carrie.
Chris, I've been told by some administrators, you need to check in with your administrator, that they are an either or.
Yeah. Some
administrators are saying 100% this or 100% this to avoid confusion on the parent end.
Totally
so
fair.
They're not trying to look through multiple things. That it's super clear. Their second grader goes on Seesaw, their fifth grader is on Canvas or whatever. Like, as a school, this is what we do.
And
so
I feel
I would
like,
check with your administrator.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I feel like the strength to that is if you, again, wanted to use Seesaw as a tool for students to do something, but still submit to Canvas, and nothing's being submitted to Seesaw, then I don't believe there's going to be any confusion for your parents because they're not going to have any evidence. There's not going to be anything waiting in Seesaw. It's just using it as a tool to create, do a video, and then submit to Canvas, if that makes sense. And if you're not sure 100%, you know what, we'll take some time and we'll go ahead and model or play and see how that works out. So will there be a third grade content available? And I'm not 100% sure, but I believe perhaps yes. Potentially?
Yeah, we were told initially when we planned out all the work we had to do this summer that it was only 4th and 5th grade, and I just found out that it's 3rd grade. So I'm going to do my very, very darndest to get that up and running and ready for you.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it too is, this is daunting. Online learning, virtual learning, all of this is so daunting. Canvas is just one more task, or Seesaw or whatever. It's just one more. It's like basically one more rock that you have to carry in your midst to trying to get to the end. We don't want it to be challenging, but the reality is we feel choosing a platform, having our school district make those conscious choices is at least going to help our students and parents in their streamlining of their effort as well. So let me move on. So I heard there was a calendar in Canvas that students and families can see. 100%. My favorite, the most powerful tool in Canvas that I've said for years is the calendar. And because as a teacher, when I give an assignment or something for my students to do, when I put a due date on it, it automatically shows up on the calendar. And what you're seeing right now is my daughter's calendar. And so as a parent, I can look and say, oh, it looks like you have an assignment due on the 22nd or on the 23rd. I can see that without having to go to anybody's course. I log in as a parent, I look at my calendar, that's my child. And if I have more than one child, I can see all of their Canvas courses and all the assignments. And so it's a very powerful tool because it shows what's coming up, what's due, when is it due, and when a student or a parent clicks on it, it gives them the ability to either complete the assignment or at least know more information. So it's a very, very powerful tool. The cool thing is you don't have to do extra. You just create an assignment or a task, put a due date on it, and it automatically shows up here in Canvas. So that's
because if I can interject really quickly, a brand new Seesaw update is a calendar component as well because it was lacking that last year. So that is part of the new update that is actually happening the 14th. So this Friday, there is a new update to Seesaw, and there will be a calendar where you can see the activities similar in nature. So students could look at the date and see what they needed to.
And parents too? Will parents be able to?
I haven't, it doesn't start till the 14th, so I haven't had the opportunity to play with it yet.
Okay.
So
that's
I'm
good
not
news.
Sure. Not 100% sure on that.
Yeah. And that's good news. And I love it. And again, like Carrie and I are saying, we're here to support you regardless of what you choose. And it's good for you to have those opportunities and those things in your head. So this is my favorite question. What about grading feedback and what does it look like? And so you all know our district's philosophy. And if you're an elementary teacher, your philosophy might be a little bit different than a secondary teacher. Secondary are really grounded in having to put everything in synergy. I'm advocating that we just consider Canvas your paper gradebook. It is the evidence of all student learning. It's where you give a score and a feedback for assignments and then put a summative into synergy. So I'm not going to tell you what to do with the elementary world, but if I was an elementary teacher, I would collect my work from my students, give them a score and feedback in Canvas, and that would show up in my paper gradebook, effectively in Canvas. And then if I needed to show evidence to a parent on how their child's doing, or when grades come up, I can say, hey, here's, with confidence, here's how that child's doing, and then be able to put those scores in. So the easiest way I could see it is just to give it like a paper gradebook, because if you taught as long as Carrie and I have, we started with paper gradebooks and we had to put it in a gradebook anyways.
And there's also the ability to add a rubric right inside.
Yes,
correct?
100%. Yep. You can add a rubric, and the beauty about adding a rubric is once you add a rubric, it's just a matter of clicking. Oh, this student has scored a 2 out of 4 on this specific component and a 3 out of 4 on this component, and it's just a click. And then when a student receives the added assignment, they'll know on that rubric where they have scored. And then when you give them feedback, and what I love about the feedback is it can be written, typed, and videoed. So all of you who love being on video, like I do, you'll get to do more of that.
And if you haven't experienced grading the skills view in Seesaw, I know a number of people haven't really explored that yet. You can actually, with every single activity, you can tag it with a specific skill, which are directly correlated to the report card. So you say, we're working on this specific writing target. When you go through to look at your assignments, you can go ahead and score it on a 4-point rubric. So you can, on a 4-point proficiency scale, and then you can see how kids are doing cumulatively. And again, that's in skills. Yeah. And we've had more in-depth sessions, obviously, on Seesaw and Canvas that you can access through TeacherSource. You can go back and watch those videos if you'd like more information. That was in the intermediate to advanced Seesaw. We covered skills if you want to look into that more.
And the comparison with that with Canvas is we have what's called outcomes. Outcomes are like targets. Now, the only thing is we don't have all targets for all grade levels. And so it's eventually on our roadmap. We just have not been able to put them into Canvas, but you can still create a task-specific rubric and use that as evidence of how a student is doing against certain targets or your overall score. So,
Chris, I think we have a related question here.
Yeah.
If there are additional teachers who are added, are they able to comment and see student work as well?
So that's a tricky question. And the reason why it's a tricky question is it depends on what the ultimate goal is for that work, for that team. And so, for example, I think Lori's on here today. I talked with Lori and her team, I think last week, and they, I think, if I'm right, Lori was asking is if I was a math teacher and Carrie was going to be teaching reading and writing and another teammate was going to teach social studies, could we be teachers on all of those courses? Yes. The only difference would be Carrie would only see, of course, my students. Could we add all of our students into one course? Technically, the answer is yes as well. And I say the word technically because it's a very manual process. It's something that I have to sit with you and your team and work with and go through. But know that there's some consequences with that. Once you mix your courses together and you start collecting student work, you can't decide, oh my gosh, Carrie, I can't do this anymore. And then you can't, split up, because when you split up, you're not going to retain your work. You'll have to export a grade book, and now you have an actual physical paper grade book. So yes, you can add teachers to your course, and yes, they can see your students, and yes, you can add all of your students together in one course, math, and another course for science. But there are some strong warnings that come with that to know the repercussions, positive and negative. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. And again, those are things that, I'm not going to advise teachers to do at the beginning, because I don't want you to create an unsustainable practice that we're not 100% sure what's going to happen with your courses. So. All right. Somebody had asked about student work. This is where if this was a showdown, this is where Seesaw would absolutely get 10 points immediately right off the bat, because Seesaw is literally a click of a button. I mean, every student who can click a button can effectively do a draw, a photo, a video, or a link. With Canvas, there isn't one single click. There's actually a couple of different clicks depending on the task. The picture I showed above you is that students can add images. Teachers can add YouTube videos. You can pull from your Google Drive. You can record video and audio, but you don't have the drawing feature, and you don't have what, in my opinion, is the simplicity of the click. So for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, I have third graders who need to do something, that's where you could combine the power of a Seesaw as just the tool, and then being able to download and put that into Canvas. But I'm saying that to you sounds easy, but it's not necessarily easy because it's part of a workflow that you as a teacher would have to kind of practice and make sure. Our goal as teachers, and definitely as Carrie and I, our goal is to give you most sustainable approach so that in a few months you can continue to do well. With that being said, there are some things that you might need to add on later. Like I'm not going to tackle this right now, for example, and then you can add those perhaps on later. And there's no shame. I mean, nobody's here is judging anybody. Like if you literally want to start with the most simplest approach, we're here to support you. Somebody had mentioned where school utilizes ESL support through co-teaching. And from your answer, it sounds like it would be difficult for me supporting 4 classrooms and comment on the work. And I feel like, yes, that would be a challenge. You could be added to those individual, like Carrie and I right now, if you were supporting Carrie and I, we could add you to our Canvas course. You would see those individual students that you support, and you could go ahead and respond to that one child or on their assignment. And you could technically give them a specific assignment to that student, but this is where you and I would really have to make sure that we have our ducks together. We really are not crossing our wires as far as like how much information students are getting and from which teacher. So unfortunately, and I think my friend Steve would also echo the same point, Canvas and Seesaw are set up for classroom teachers, not intentionally set up for our support. That doesn't mean we can't find ways to make it work. It just means it's not a natural space. In the physical, we would have teachers come into our classrooms and help physically, and it's just really more challenging. Zoom might be potentially the better solution at the moment. I don't know yet for sure. So, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, could you have your own separate class and have students just submit that assignment to their teacher and to you? Would that be?
You can. So, for example, our friend Leela, I believe, had mentioned, had asked that question. So, if she wanted to create a Canvas course and invite students, so I love the word caveat because everything I'm telling you right now has those. So you could potentially create your own course and invite students that you support. But just realize every Canvas course that you or other teachers, counselors, psychologists, special ed, resource teachers add students to those courses is another Canvas course that shows up on their dashboard. So now that students gone from 5 to potentially 7 or 8 or 9. It doesn't mean that that is going to be a terrible thing. It just means understand that that's the ramification of creating a Canvas course. It's now you've added another space for that child to have to manage and deal with. So Steve says it best. He always says we're just trading problems for solutions. We solve one thing and we gain another problem. And so by solving it for a Canvas course and adding your students to it, great, you solved that problem. But now you've potentially given your students another course to manage. So that is not a bad answer. It is not a bad suggestion. I want you to be aware of those ramifications. That's all. Would us teachers be the ones who download Seesaw to Canvas? Maybe that's what we're thinking, Carrie, about like if an assignment is in a Google Doc or a Google Cloud or Google Slide, putting that into Canvas. For the most part, in the long run, the answer is going to be yes. Because we want our teachers to be self-sustainable. Like we want you to be able to understand how to create engagement for your students and know how to add Google Documents, Google Content, YouTube, and all of that. But at the beginning, I know Carrie is working hard to put some of that stuff in Canvas, and we will be showing you how to. We're going to have so much PD this year that you're going to feel like you've reached the pinnacle of PD. So.
Sorry to interrupt. I was wondering about when you said students do the work through Seesaw and then it could go to Canvas. Would we be asking the students to take their work from Seesaw to Canvas?
Effectively, no, thank you for clarifying that. So effectively, if I was using Seesaw as just a tool to create, I would have them click on the plus button, maybe take a photo, and then they'd have to download that photo and put it into Canvas. So the answer is yes. The students would have to create it, move that from Seesaw to Canvas, because I don't want them to submit it, right? I don't want them to submit their video in Seesaw. I just want you to use Canvas, or Seesaw's drawing or notes feature, and then submit that to Canvas by downloading it. So thank you for jumping in. I hope that was your answer, or I hope that was the better answer to the question.
It was. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for asking. So one of probably the other questions, and anybody who's spent time on the BSD Facebook recently, you know what a beautiful flower of arrangements that is. Parents are a bit frustrated with the amount of information they're receiving. And that's nobody's fault. It's nobody to blame. That's just what it is. And so with Canvas, you can help parents and students understand that notifications, like on your phone, that Facebook notification that you got from that group that you joined, that now you just turned off because it's annoying you. Yeah. So parents and students can also control how often they're being notified and for what information. And to be honest, in the picture I showed you, and I don't expect you to zoom in and see it, but to be honest, in the picture I'm showing you, other than course content, an announcement, or grading, the rest of it can be just turned off. I mean, parents don't need any of that stuff down below. But the power of it is that a parent could choose to turn those on each day, each week, or I think it says, it's right away, daily, or a summary. So that's an important thing. And Carrie, I believe notifications exist for Seesaw, much the same, correct? Oh, I think.
I muted.
Yeah.
Dog. Yes, they exist, not quite to that extent, so many things, but parents have the ability to control their own notifications as well.
Yeah, and I feel like, and this is something that Carrie and I haven't talked about, but we've talked about it as a group, which is our goal is to come up with a more sustainable approach to the learning, but also consistency, and also in a way to try to reduce the noise. And that's really what it's about. And so with that being said, if you're looking at Canvas, from me, you're going to get a homepage template. So please don't spend 14 hours in the Canvas Facebook Bitmoji group. I'm going to tell you right now, don't. You'll get a template from us that we're going to create. That's a real simple template that you could still personalize, but we're going to reduce all of the navigational links on the left, and we're going to try to give you a course where you feel comfortable. And if you feel like you want to kind of expand on it and make the page prettier or add a few things, you have that ability within the boundary of trying to make it so that we're at least trying to be consistent. And consistent, to be honest, is really about being simple. With that being said, also, the communication of how you send communication to parents and students is going to be something we as a district are deciding on. And I don't know if Seesaw is doing the same thing, but my advice would be, as a school, we're going to use one form of communication. We're going to send our students every Sunday or Monday morning. Here's the weekly announcement. And then each day, I'm going to inform you what we're learning, but it's not an announcement in that you get another inbox or you get another email. It's just a way of letting you know, much like, when your kids came in your classroom and you had that whiteboard in your classroom and you said, here's what we're learning today and here's what's due. You didn't have to send them an email. You told them face to face. So we're working on creating the same communications consistency across the district. And I feel like Seesaw would also benefit from having some similar consistency and practices in communication. I'd say communication is probably the second biggest issue we deal with as a district as far as with the LMSs and all these digital tools. So.
Chris, we had a question from Christy about when that template will be, when teachers can access that template.
You will get it probably about a few days before school starts. The reason why is we do not publish Canvas courses until about 4 or 5 days before students show up. Now, the good thing is that template is only going to require you to do like 1 or 2 things. You do not have to spend all the time on it. The course, if you're like, well, Chris, I really want to start building stuff today, you could actually hit, I mean, literally, this is my advice to you. You could literally do that. And this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but you could literally go to your dashboard and then scroll down. And then you're going to see where it says start a new course. And you could literally create a new course called 5th grade homeroom. And then you could begin to put some things in there if you want to. And when I say things, I'm not expecting you to know all this, but just if you wanted to, you could. And then what I'm getting to is you could take the things you put in your new course that you built with no students and import that into the class with students. So you're not going to lose any time. You're not going to lose any work. You will lose nothing. You will gain the world by having some things already and bringing them into Canvas. The template is something that we started last year. And matter of fact, if you went right now, I mean, Carrie could do it. Well, maybe not Carrie, but all of you right now could go to your dashboard and you could look at 2019, 2020 course right now in Canvas. And you'll see that I gave you a real simple template. I think it said welcome and a few buttons, and we're going to have it to look a little bit more exciting. Carrie and Nicole are going to work on that. But again, elementary gets the same one. Middle school gets one. high school gets one, and then the teacher is allowed to personalize it within the boundaries of not making it too crazy. So.
Chris, do we have student parent instructions or tutorials so that they can have some help at home navigating, or is that on the teacher too?
No, I think we actually, we've done some webinars, and I've stood in front of hundreds of parents over the past 5 or 6 years. And so when parents want to go to families, go to the website and go to families and go to parents, apps, and resources. Now, not everything is going to be here because our district is really making some big decisions to really try to give more resources. And there's just a small amount of us who are doing this content. So you'll see where it says Canvas information, Seesaw information. If I click on Canvas information for parents, not only can you log in, but we gave some basic information, and then we have some information about the webinars. And of course, because it's on the district webpage, a parent can go ahead and translate that. We are coming up with, and eventually it's part of our roadmap, our goals, more targeted specific videos on how to do this and how to do that. However, that being said, if you once you feel comfortable, once you're getting to the point where like, hey, I think I can do this, creating a short 60-second video that you put on your Canvas homepage, it says, hey parents, welcome to my homepage. You'll notice that there's modules and grades and announcements on the left, and you'll notice that you'll get a reminder each week of what we're learning. And that's it, 60 seconds. And that's the goal of the consistent template. The goal of the consistent navigation is to make it so that every teacher who does want to do a video are all gonna be pretty similar, because the last thing you would want as a parent is to watch Carrie's video and hers is really specific and simple, and mine be like, and you can click here and then here and then here, and then like, no, we're getting rid of all that by trying to make it more consistent. So hopefully that answers your question. More is coming, I guess is really, I should say, more resources for our parents and students are coming.
Chris, Layla asked if Canvas allows parents to see information in their native language, like Seesaw translates.
No, that's an awesome question. And this is where, if we were tabbing points, this is where Seesaw would win. In Canvas, I can change the system language to my native language, but it does not translate the messages that a parent or that a teacher would be sending back and forth. And this is where I think Canvas or Seesaw has just totally done an amazing job. But with that being said, we can leverage the Google Translate. And again, most people's responses are, well, Google Translate's not perfect. No, I agree with you. It's not perfect. But if we did want parents to be able to do translations in Canvas, then using the translate button and choosing your language, it will translate. And so if I was looking at the calendar, which you'll notice on the left-hand side, if I was looking at the calendar, the information that my teacher posted for my child could be translated in a probably somewhat decent way. So short answer is no, we don't have the amazing tools that Seesaw has, but Canvas does and can leverage the translation tools.
Christy also asked about the PD plan for our work weeks. Now we have 2 work weeks.
Yeah.
And I believe that's currently still being negotiated between the union and the administrators and principals, and how much time they have allotted at each level, elementary, middle, and high. And we have a new science curriculum, and everybody wants a piece of that, that PD time. So we're not sure yet what we have in terms of time available, but our job this year is to be providing PD, if not during those 2 weeks, ongoing throughout the year based on.
Oh yeah, all year. Like, and I don't want to. Because Carrie and I we're part of a team who supports our teachers across the district. Just like in the physical classroom, I would go to classrooms, and Carrie would too, all the time. We went to classrooms all the time to support teachers, to help them with certain things. And it didn't have to be Canvas. It'd be like, hey, can you help me come and do video? Absolutely, we're there for you, right? So that being said, even that type of support will still exist. But I also want to let you know that every single teacher in the district can click on help and go to Canvas chat. Now, these people are super busy, but you can chat 24 hours a day with Canvas, provided they're not super busy. That includes Christmas time or whatever it is, holidays. I also have this resource that we'll make sure you have available for you. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in the link for you because I realized it's not on my page. I put it on the last time we did a webinar. It was just basically I love Symbaloo, and so it was basically my Symbaloo page. And so 99% of the resources are correct and current. The day I shared this, which was the funniest part, the day I shared this resource to teachers was the day that Canvas was going ahead and completely renovating everything they did. It was just absolutely astronomical. And so people were like, well, Chris, I can't get to this. And it's true, they couldn't. In all fairness, people couldn't get to it. So let me go on my little, there you go, right there. Let me put this in the chat for you all. This is just basically the Canvas resources. And the other part, of course, is you all know about YouTube, but you know what? Go to the help, and on the left-hand side, and right here where it says search the guides, or look at this. This is what I love too. Watch this. Right here it says training services portal. So if you want to click on that, we paid for it. You authorize it, and you can go to town on going through some of that stuff. So, you know, just like Carrie has lots of resources for Seesaw, she's got great opportunity, great things for training. We want to make sure you feel that you have support. This is overwhelming, but just know that our goal is to have you the rest of the year. Like that's where we're trying to get to. And so I just put the link in the chat. And so I'm hoping, did it go through, Carrie? Maybe
We went
it
to
did.
the waiting room.
Oh, I apologize. So let me, let's do that again.
I got it.
Oh, you did. Okay. Thank you for doing that. And I think it's almost, our time is kind of up, but basically that link I gave to you is that link to that Symbaloo page, which is, if you look at it the way I broke it down, basically it just says, you know, how do I do certain things? And we'll be giving everybody in our district, every teacher who's using Canvas, these 3 levels of agreement that we really want teachers to work towards. Doesn't mean you're an expert, but with those levels of agreement, all of those 3 levels of Canvas usage comes as agreements of my homepage is set up, you know, my students can find that information. I'm keeping things simple just to try to keep that consistency across the district.
And like I mentioned earlier, there are way more in-depth training courses. I think Chris has 3 tomorrow on Canvas.
I have 3 tomorrow, yeah.
Back to like a ton of information, plus the ones that are recorded. And I've taught, I think, 3 or 4 on Seesaw as well. So
yeah,
you're welcome to dive into any one of those, and they're being recorded for you to watch at your convenience.
Yeah, and you know, and you're welcome to email me. I'll be honest and tell you up front that I struggle with emails right now because we're both getting inundated with emails, and we're really actually not working full time right now either. So we will do our best to respond to your emails. If I don't respond, it's not because I'm being mean. It's just try to find that balance right now. So with that being said, so it looks like there's a lot of pros for Canvas. Any pros to Seesaw? Oh, absolutely. I feel like the simplicity of being able to submit work to Seesaw is a huge pro. The language is a huge pro. Carrie says the calendar is coming through so that it will be a feature option as well. Unfortunately, not for another week, right, Carrie?
Yeah, the 14th, there's a whole series of new updates, and I did a session entirely on all of the new updates.
That's right, yeah.
So if you haven't looked at Seesaw since last spring, you'll want to probably watch that so that you're, again, informed on all the different changes. And there have been quite a few. You know,
it makes me sad that it sounds like you have to make that choice. It makes me happy that our district is trying to be consistent. For those who've been here for a long time, we don't really excel in being consistent. So it makes me excited to know that. It makes me sad that makes it sound like it's a hard choice to make. But with that being said, I feel like, you know, we're here to support you. We want to give you a sustainable approach. I think if you are going to choose Seesaw and you stick with it, I think you'll still find it's going to work for you. I mean, that's what it's going to work. But there are districts in this country that are going K-12 Canvas, or there are districts in this country that are doing a hard K-3 or K-4 for Seesaw and a hard, you know, up or above for Canvas. So we're not the only district who's wrestling with this conversation. All right, that's all I have to talk about. So, yeah, no, I appreciate all of you being here. I look messy because I, you know, dug up a sewer line yesterday, and
I just put the check-in link for you.
Thank you.
So make sure that you've checked in so that you get your credit through TeacherSource for attending. And if you're watching this on the video, make sure that you look in TeacherSource. You'll find the link there where you can get check-in credit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate all of you being here. You took your time today. You, like Carrie and I, are not really being paid. We're not here full time. We're not working. And so we really appreciate you taking the time because we know that your hearts are with your students. So anyways, we love all of you. Thank you for hanging out. So I think we'll stop our recording and then
All right.
stop sharing. Thanks, friends. Have a fantastic day and enjoy your patio time. All right, Carrie, I'm going to take off because I have
Yeah, go for
a
it.
little bit more to work. But thank you. I love working with you. And thank you so much for
Well done, sir.
hanging out today. So
All right.
I'll chat with you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.